name is Lodewijk Abspoel and I work for the Dutch government, and I'm responsible for integrated maritime policy and, amongst others, maritime spatial planning and the land-sea interactions which are part of it.
So this land-sea interaction. So in the moment working on policy development on regional level for many coastal regions, they start thinking how to have a narration on their cultural heritage. And what do you think about the idea to use this land-sea approach on telling about the cultural heritage? So if you look, we have in our workshop we had the example of a whaling ship, could also a fisher ship going to Canada. So obviously a sea relation coming from Newfoundland to the Basque Country, but also the interaction with the hinterland performing in that way that resources were used to build ships, to bring resources together, to be able to cross the Atlantic, gather other resources across the Atlantic, establish trade routes and things like that. Because I think it could be in this land-sea interaction also something where we can learn lessons from the past. So where people get an idea on a maybe simple model, simpler maybe than today, but a simple model, how this interaction could be applied.
Yes, I think you tip on an important aspect there, because whether you would say it, frame it under land-sea interactions, or you would have it as a part of the maritime spatial planning. The most important thing for government officials who are in the lead of such a process is to have an open view to things, and especially understand what stakeholders bring to the table. Taking the example of fisheries, and the Dutch herring, of course, is well known. Only this is not being caught anymore, this fish, in the Dutch waters. They go to Danish waters, Scottish waters, Norwegian waters, and we bring it back home. But this year we celebrate in Scheveningen the 70th anniversary of what we call Flag Day, Vlaggetjesdag, where we celebrate the first new young herring being brought back. So understanding the history of a functional group, like in this time fishermen, is very important. 80 years ago, my former colleagues, they decided not to allow any bycatch being brought to land anymore. Today we have new policy that the bycatch has to be landed. And this brings to the knowing the history, knowing where stakeholders came from or where they want to go to, is a very important thing. The same goes like wind energy, wave energy. In the old days in Los Angeles, they used the power of the waves and the tides to clean the streets of Los Angeles from the poo of the horses. So any kind of little aspect you find at sea or on the land side, the narrative behind it, if you start looking for it, brings back beautiful stories. And in our policy document on the long-term vision, we actually also tapped into this to bring back that type of atmosphere and this joy and fun which is possible to bring to everybody under a maritime spatial planning process or the land-sea interaction search for that. The festivities we had in cultural heritage, I have the herring party. In the eastern part of the Netherlands, there's a Rotary Club inviting me to come and eat the young herring every year. So it's there, it's all over, spread around your country where you find it. We build our super yachts way in Os, which is in the southern part, almost 150 kilometers out of sea. And then it navigates through there, through these little canals, and then it goes to the open sea. Stuff we bring in from other parts of the world. It goes through this chain of socio-economic elements. With the port of Rotterdam being a vital function also for the economy in Germany. We bring in via Rotterdam the stuff to build these cars in Munich, and then those cars are being shipped out again via Bremenhaven. So this is all interconnected, and if you transpose this to a more of a cultural heritage type of thinking, or landscaping or seascaping type of thing, also there you find these wonderful stories. I particularly like also the bones. We have a fisherman who is actually known as the bone fisher, and he brings back bones he finds on the Doggerbank of saber-toothed tigers, and so bringing that story back to the policy world and also to the general public that helps by creating this understanding, and thus if there's mutual understanding, policy decisions are easier because you know one another, you know all the ins and the outs. And for me, it is a beautiful thing to take that on board. Where to actually position this element and how to bring people representing and having knowledge on these elements into the process, that is a challenge. Whether somebody who knows about history, cultural history, escaping, and how the world came as it is today, in your team or as a stakeholder, I think I would tend to go and say, okay, come on board in the team to run the maritime spatial planning process, and because then somebody can ask the intelligent questions. But perhaps it's nice to have somebody who doesn't even know anything about it and just be surprised by it. Bring in art, bring in music. That was also part of this history. If I were looking to a bit of a nice atmosphere in my activities, in my talks, I gathered a group of people, and then we're in the fish auction. And I would like to begin with a little bit of music or a bit of poetry in the morning to warm up the spirits. And we have the Dubliners who've been singing about the North Sea, and then I'll just start the show with a bit of entertainment. Let's build up a story. And there are these elements of history and culture, and from the past to the future are really helpful, I guess.